Hello! Welcome to the Sweet Tea Shakespeare Hours, where we spend time well by spending it together. I'm Claire Martin.
Good afternoon.
Hey there.
Hi.
How's everybody?
Doing well. It's Tuesday, so we survived Monday. I count that as a victory.
So I kind of feel like we have the
nothing.
perfect weather for today's conversation too. Have you guys noticed that?
Yes, it's Portland weather here.
It's kind of gloomy and
I was gonna say
overcast.
I have no idea what the weather is like in North Carolina, but yes, you're sort of matching us. Although we have some sunshine, so in your face.
Yeah, it's been raining for I don't know, 2 months straight. I think that's about right. That's
Absolutely.
what it feels like.
Yeah, we're drowning. It's okay.
Oh, you are such drama queens. Please, when it
Oh.
rains like 10 and a half months of the year, then you can complain.
See, drama
It's a
queens.
very
It's all
for
playing
weather
right
day. It's very
Yeah,
it's
that's what I'm
very
saying.
moody.
Yeah. The gloom, the emo. Yeah, I would agree. We have a lot of, I don't know about you, Jeremy, but I feel like I have a lot of young male Shakespearean drama queens. Like just a lot of guys who just do not have good control over their emotions. So I'm looking forward to the discussion we're gonna have today.
Yeah, I feel like I understand the four a little bit.
Well,
I
I would
might
hope
be one.
so.
I might be one. You know.
You might.
I think this is probably like it's a leading contender. Like of the 9 numbers, it's probably in the top 3 for me.
Wow.
I could see that.
That's saying a lot.
You know, so we'll see how it goes.
So I
I'm
have
not
a
a
bit of a
four.
four wing.
Yeah, I've got the art thing, and other than that, this type does not. I do not vibe with this type.
I can't wait. You guys ready? Do you want to hear about the four?
Take it away, Kelly.
I don't know if I'm
Okay.
ready.
So I think this is going to be interesting because there's a lot of stereotypes out there, and the four is one of the easiest ones to stereotype. Everybody kind of always just defaults to, oh, you guys are artists, so you must all be fours, right? Or,
They all wear interesting glasses and have scarves and peacoats.
Yeah. Or maybe some eyeliner, like
Mhm.
dark clothing, kind of gothy, emo. Yeah, I don't know if emo is still a thing. I was kind of into it in high school, like the
They
Daria
like their lattes
from
a very
MTV
certain
look.
way.
Yeah, a very unique way. It's a thing. Okay, you guys. So we're on to Enneagram 4 now. These folks are commonly referred to as the individualist or the romantic. My number one icon of fourness is Johnny Depp. Just 100% cannot be argued. So kind of keep that in mind as we stereotype. No. So we're going to talk about the fours are the last number in the heart triad. So they're very much connected to emotions. They're also concerned with image and affection in that way. They are more of the type. So of the 3 heart types, the 2, 3, and the 4, the 4s are going to be more internalized than the other types, right? So the 2s are going to show affection and kind of do everything that they do sort of outwardly. It's going to flow out from them. The 3 is going to be a little detached from it. And the 4, everything is going to dwell inside. So these folks are driven by a desire to be special. They are
Aw.
unique. There is not a single person like them. They often feel really misunderstood. They feel like they're out on the fringes or the margins, and no one could ever get me. Really nonconformist, sort of by nature. But it kind of sucks because their fear is having no one understand them. So they're always putting up this block. You can't possibly get me. You can't type me. You can't understand me. But then there's this deep pain associated with feeling not understood or not known. So they tend to spend a lot of time sort of dwelling in those spaces inside themselves. The fixation that comes with that, sort of the mental block that gets in their way, is actually melancholy. So that kind of just becomes a reverberating theme. It's just kind of a way of being, like, oh, well, nobody gets me, right? The passion or the struggle that they deal with is envy, because though they feel like no one understands them, they are kind of obsessed with the fact that everyone else seems to have something that they want or that they're missing, because they've somehow become like pulled away from that, or, it's been taken away from them. They have, their conflict style. We talked about that a little bit last time. The way in which they handle conflicts is to be reactive. And what that looks like as a 4. I know that might sound strange because we talked about 8 and 6 also being in that type. But the way in which a 4 does that is they're always sort of testing the waters with people. So they'll do this play hard to get thing, right? Oh, you don't love me. I'm going to back away. I'm going to make you chase me. If you chase me, if you come back, then maybe there's something there. But for the most part, I'm seeking affection by pulling away, right? So it's almost like this game, like this hide and seek, or hard to get. The way that they try to get their needs met is through withdrawing. So again, you could see where this is a problem. How can you have affection and intimacy if you're continually withdrawing from folks? So they share that with the 5 and the 9. So those are things that you kind of have in common all the way around the Enneagram. When they are integrating, they go to 1, so super healthy space. They're going to go to the 1 and draw from the 1 energy to be able to produce things instead of just kind of like daydreaming about things. All the great things they want to do that will set them apart, they can pull into the 1 energy to help them like strategize, find the motivation, plan it out, get it done. If they are in stress, they're going to go to 2. So that looks like on the high side of 2, that can look like being a bit more generous and like consciously generous and giving of their talents and their creative abilities. They can find balance. And then on the low side of that, they can get defensive, manipulative, jealous. We can unravel that as we go along, because I'm sure we're going to talk about some unhealthy and stressed out 4s along the way. Yeah. So just to start there again, like these folks they have a really broad emotional range, so much more so than most people. And they would think that fairly common, but it is actually pretty profound. And their ability to kind of sit with hard stuff has always fascinated me. I've known a few 4s in my time, and they're the folks you want to call when you don't want anyone to fix it. Right? When you just want to sit and you want somebody to kind of hold protective space for you, a healthy 4 is an amazing person to have on your side. If they're not so healthy, that can get complicated with drama and moodiness and melodramatic stuff going on. But yeah, for the most part, they can also see beauty in just about everything. I always think of that scene in American Beauty where he's watching the plastic bag and just completely enamored by that, like a 4 can see a leaf on the ground and just be completely transfixed and like in love with it because they see the beauty in it. And most people would kind of pass by that and not even take notice.
Okay, Jeremy, can we play a game for a hot second? Because you had said before we started recording, you said that you have like the archetypal 4 in your notes, that someone who maybe even is above Hamlet.
And I know I'm not wrong.
Great. So what I was thinking is I have one too. If I count 1, 2, 3, can we say it at the same time and see if it's the same person?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. Romeo.
Jakes.
Oh, fun.
But yes, you're not wrong. I also had Jaques, but I think Romeo is the archetypal 4.
I'm going to think about that one.
You guys want to hear Wings?
I'm going to think about it.
Why
Let's hear Wings.
Think about it?
I'm going to think about it some.
Okay,
he didn't make my list today.
You didn't make
Romeo
list?
did not make my list.
Then you're wrong.
Well, thanks, 8. I'm going to withdraw now.
Yep.
Yeah, great.
That matters. That's important. Write that down. Okay, so on either side of the 4, we have the 3 and the 5. Okay, so the 4 with a 3 wing, meaning they are pulling into some 3 behaviors more dominantly, say, than the other type or the other wing. So a 4 with a 3 wing is called the aristocrat. And what that looks like is having the creativity that they, kind of embody, but then also being able to draw from the 3's ambition. The thing that stands out for me the most and the distinction between the 2 wings is that this person or this type is going to be performing for the audience. And then when you move down to the 4 with a 5 wing, this is called the Bohemian. So it's a bit more eclectic. This is my Johnny Depp. They're going to have the emotionality and introspection, but they're going to tag that on top of like this really deep perceptive ability that they have to kind of interpret and kind of observe their environments. And that the way they produce their art or their anything is more for themselves and less for an audience. So it's less image driven than the 4 with the 3 wing. And it's going to be a bit more of like either something that they're personally just proud of, or they're kind of collecting for themselves, that brings them kind of like internal pride and happiness. So 4 with a 3, aristocrat, 4 with a 5, Bohemian.
Yeah, Romeo is a 4-wing 5. He probably has like 11 notebooks full of poetry at home that he's never shared with anyone, that he just writes because he needs to like, get out his feelings. Yes.
Yeah, you might be right. I'm going to think about it some more.
Okay.
A couple of other famous 4s I had were Amy Winehouse, Vincent van Gogh. Trying to think. I think I had another list somewhere, but those are Amy Winehouse was kind of the tragic 4, right? Like the tortured artist.
Yeah.
So sadly misunderstood and disconnected from her own like purpose and uniqueness.
Yeah. Well, I also have Jacques. I think he's like bog standard 4. I don't know where I see the artistry as much. I suppose I see creativity in his rhetoric, in the way that he speaks. He's quite poetic.
I can suck melancholy out of a song as a weasel sucks eggs.
Yeah, no, I'm not disagreeing that he's sad and depressed. In fact, I would actually one of the things that I kind of love about As You Like It is that it is this like sparkling romantic comedy in which everyone is a little bit depressed. Like everyone is just a little bit too sad to function in that play.
I think Orlando is also a
yes.
I
also had Orlando. I think Orlando and Romeo are cut from a similar cloth in terms of like emotional, in terms of their comfort being just emotionally vulnerable. Like they're both so okay in that space. And they really do have this like this acute sense of like their own worth as an individual, even though the world doesn't really like Orlando's brother and court, they don't like recognize sort of his value for what it is. They don't lift him as high as he kind of is deserving of. And then with Romeo, like when his first scene with Benvolio, I think is so telling when, there's much to do with hate, but more with love. Like this brawling, this feuding in the streets, the fact that our families are killing each other. Like not only is it stupid, but it's because none of us know how to express love. None of us know where to put our emotions. Romeo is he's a train wreck of a human being, but he has acute insight into the emotional stuntedness and the suppressed desire to love and be loved that is like running rampant through the young men of Verona. And it's because he's so in tune with his own emotions, and it does make him sad, but it also makes him very aware. And so I see him as a four-wing 5. But I think Orlando is more like he's either 4-wing 3 or he's like straight 4. But yeah, I have a lot of young lovers, a lot of young male lovers from Shakespeare in my 4 category. Some of them are better than others. I think Orlando and Romeo are great. I think Claudio is not.
Who else you got? I have questions about a couple of people on my list, but we'll get there. Because I mean, I think, so these are questions I have, I think, for Kellie, I guess, is because like the you know, when you mention Johnny Depp, I mean, there's an image, and it's like this, I mean, it's the emo teenager, which is what we're talking about here in that version of Romeo. But I'm wondering if like what a 4 looks like sort of out of that stereotype archetype a little bit, and more like they're sort of a high functioning creative. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's, I read somewhere just this morning, it's 4s don't have, or yeah, they don't have feelings, they are feelings. So everything that comes in is being interpreted through an emotionality, like some sort of frame of reference around an emotion or a feeling. They're going to be sometimes kind of stagnant in that. So they're a little more introverted often. Now, say your 4 with a 3 wing is going to be more extroverted. The 4 with a 5 wing could be more introverted. But it could end up being sort of them just kind of living in their own sort of inner sanctum, not necessarily in their heads. Maybe it's in their heart. They're going to spend a lot of time kind of like, they're okay to like just sit and be sad for longer periods of time than most any other type is going to be. Right. So like, I always kind of counterpose like 4s and 7s, right? They're almost like polar opposites, because the 7 wants nothing to do with anything hard, like uncomfortable. They're going to run out and do the next thing. And the 4 is going to like sit in it. And that's probably going to guide a lot of like professional choices, artistic choices, things like that. Things that you're producing or making is probably going to be driven by a lot of that. So I think that's where the stereotype comes from, with the darkness or the moodiness, because most of us don't know how to be okay with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, we don't have an appreciation for it in the way that a 4 would. So I guess maybe higher functioning would look like almost like a confirmation or conformation with their surroundings, to be able to kind of elevate what they're producing to a level that is easier for mass consumption, but still holding a piece of what they contribute or what they produce as for themselves, and can be as weird as they want it to be, right? There's always, though, this problem of, is it appreciated or recognized as authentic and unique enough? So putting it out there and having it kind of rejected in that way, or somebody not getting it, is probably going to be really painful, more painful for a 4 than for other types. That making sense?
It is. So, and it helps, but I'm wondering whether the expression is always, I mean, I know a 4 is feeling, but is the expression always that? Or is it like I'm thinking of a character who I'm not going to name yet. But like, could you cover it up with like wit? Do you know what I mean? As a sort of defense to sort of like push away people from actually accessing your emotions, or is that something else? Like, you have them, but you don't want to necessarily like show them, and so there's like a crust there. Do you know what I mean?
I guess it just depends on the context. So yes, I would say so. I think I would say that as long as, see, that's hard, because the 4's not really scared of rejection, because they automatically assume rejection. You know what I mean?
That's
just
what
like,
I was thinking.
yeah. Right. So,
and they're really comfortable. They're comfortable with their emotions being seen, because they're stewing in them all the time.
I don't know. Let me think on that. If you guys keep talking and I have more to bounce off of it. Again, so like, I have a 4 wing, but that's just behaviors. I do not grasp the 4 motivation at all. But I can pull into that creativeness. And also, fun fact, between the 4 and the 5 is the longest distance on the Enneagram. It's actually called the existential hole. So The fours kind of guard that on the heart side, and the fives guard it on the head side. So it is quite a reach over there. So if I fall short in any way, shape, or form in helping it, fours, if you guys are listening and you're like, oh, it's because I'm all the way on the other side of that gap. So, yeah, I don't know. Let's work through that.
I'm sorry. I have a follow-up question now.
Yeah.
Because the four is like this authentic thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're seeking authenticity.
Yes.
And I'm wondering if it always comes out as like, if it's always emotional authenticity, or like, I'm thinking of artists, right? They're into like being seen authentically because of their choices, not because of their emotions, right? That goes back to the person with the strange glasses like mine, and the scarf and the pea coat, and they just want to be seen as interesting. Do you know what I mean? So it's not like, yes, they are living in their emotions, but my question is that always expressed that way, or is it possible that it could be expressed as sort of like a really clever person who's sort of hiding all the darkness inside? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think that makes sense. Because again, the emotions are more about the way that person is perceiving the world and less about what they're trying to put out, right? So what you're saying with the unique choices and being perceived as unique, that image of uniqueness is what they are doing in order to be able to get that feedback back. But the being in the heart triad or the feeling center is how they're receiving information and kind of ingesting it. So yeah, absolutely. I think that could be any sort of way. Just because you're a four doesn't mean you carry a paintbrush around and like you paint, right? It could be any other kind of like professional choices or whatnot. Again, it all goes back to like this lost message in childhood. At some point, the four felt that they needed to be more special in order to be loved or more unique. And somehow missed that message that they're perfect just the way they are, right? And that they're worthy of love just because they are who they are and not because they have to be different or special or attain that love in any other way. So they're always searching for the way to be unique and to stand out.
I got you.
Yeah?
Okay. I have questions, but yes, I mean.
Oh my God.
We need a four, like a legit four to come on and help us through this one. Because they want to be like, they don't feel like anyone can understand them. They're really hard to understand.
If you enjoy the work of Sweet Tea Shakespeare, you can find us all over the socials. We're on Facebook. We have a special secret Facebook community group that we'd love for you to join. We're on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, you name it. We're on it. We're even starting TikTok. So join us, click in, give us a like, and we'll look forward to seeing you in all of those places. If you'd like to contact us, we urge you to do so at hours@sweetteashakespeare.com. That's HOURS @sweetteashakespeare.com.
All right. Who do you have, Jeremy?
I'm going to skip over the controversial one for a minute. At least the one I think, one or ones that I think are controversial. Hi, Evie King. She's saying hi to us.
Oh, hey,
hi,
Evie. Oh, girl. Hey.
Hello. So I'm going to disagree with some ones that you've declared previously, Claire, and I'm gonna issue some new ones. Like you have said some names in our previous three numbers, and I'm going to say names now. The same names.
Okay.
So we can have
I love it.
Okay, here we go.
And say what they were before, what we thought they were, and that can help us.
I don't
tear
remember
apart.
all of them, but I'm going to start. Let's start easy. I think Festi and Twelfth Night is a 4.
Yeah, same.
I think it's well, I think Timon of Athens is a 4. I think Titus Andronicus could be a 4. Could be.
Yes, could be. Could be.
I don't know.
I would agree with that.
I don't know because there's a lot of 8 and some other stuff going on there.
Sure.
I think Leontes is a 4
Yep.
in Winter's Tale.
Mhm.
I think they're like Saruman is a 4 in Pericles. It's a really interesting, lovely character, I think.
Yeah.
I wonder about Richard II being a 4, or if he's just dealing with 4-ish things as a subject of the play.
I think it's this. I think that's a subject of the play because I wondered about that when I put him in the 3 category. But I think what we see at the top of the play before everything falls to hell, that vain, glittery, shiny gold, hot mess. I
Yeah,
think that's who he
and
is.
I'm maybe just thinking of moments where, and I'm not sold on it. It's a definite question mark, but like the famous, like, come let us sit upon the ground and tell sad stories of the
Yeah.
death of kings, and the sort of forlorn approach there strikes me as that sort of image that you're talking about with Romeo, as a, like, verklempt, like lots of
But
sighs.
I think that's intrinsically what Romeo is, whereas I think Richard has been pushed to a point where he feels like solemnly reflecting and stewing in his emotions is the only thing left for him to do. Because at that point he's ready to give up. He's
Yeah.
just hopeless and he's been brought low. So I think you could say he's a 3-wing 4, and he definitely is like leaning into that wing in moments like that. But I think I read him as too image conscious, too convinced of his own rights to be king, to lead, to have control. I think that's too fundamental to his person for him to like actually be a 4.
Yeah, sure. And I think I agree with the vanity parts of all of what you're saying. Um, um, so I think Macduff might be a 4. He's certainly in tune
I
with the emotional side.
yeah.
I think in a relatively healthy way. I mean, he obviously makes stupid choices, but that might be a sign of his sort of living in the emotional world instead of the world of the mind. Um, I think maybe Lucio in Measure for Measure is certainly got the sort of creative version of that. I don't think it's as moody and dark. Um, um, I so we can fight about this one because it's a project that's coming up, but I think Armado is possibly a 4.
No.
I think he lives in that sort of emotional, twisted about Jacquinetta, that kind of place. So there's that. I mean, I found a lot of plays where I couldn't find a 4 there. Like there might not have been one. And I thought,
had a couple of plays like that.
so some names that you've mentioned before, I think, Silvius in As You Like It could be a 4. And I think, Cleopatra could be a 4. And
Cleo, I'm willing to concede to you. I think she's got 4. At least Shakespeare's Cleo has 4 written all over her.
yeah, and the actor
Yeah.
part of that sort of resonates
Mhm.
to some degree with me.
Sure.
Um, um, uh, I can. Well, here are the questions I have. I have a question about Benedick, and I'm not prepared to say he's a 4, but learning a little bit about the 4 made me wonder about that character. I mean, he's a witcracker, right? And like he lands, like, honestly, if he's more of like it's not quite a 7, but it's more of that sort of open, uh, deflecting type. Do you know what I mean? But I think some of that play is about the sort of like inner stuff that is being experienced, not just by Benedick, but several people. And I just had a question about, that's why I was asking the questions before about like, how does it manifest? Do you know what I mean?
he didn't, but he's in denial, and the level of the level to which he's in denial depends on the production, but like he like actively resists feeling. He resists emotions getting underneath his skin. And I think like that's just who he is. That's why it takes the, the orchestrated ploy of all of their friends conspiring to get him to like crack open. Even then, he doesn't say anything. He doesn't confess his love out loud until after the stakes have gotten so high that it looks like people are going to start dying.
Yeah, but like, when he's in it, he's in it. Do you know what I mean? And like he takes over the romantic part. Like I agree. That's why I was asking about the mask. But like 2/3 of the way through that play, he's in it 100%. And that's why I'm asking if there's like a defense first. Do you know what I mean? And like, or if it presents in some other way.
Couldn't we say that about any character in Shakespeare that falls in love like pretty authentically, that once they're in it, they're in it? Like, I don't think that I think that's kind of what we were talking about yesterday.
I think what you've provided is an 8's answer to the question, which is like a firm, very specific, this is the way this is going to be. And I'm thinking maybe there are other ways to do it.
But I just like, I don't read Benedick's motivation ever to like close himself off because no one could understand his emotions, or to like really deeply feel his emotions and either process them privately, or the other way would be to like project it for the sake of image. Like I don't read anything in who that character is as 4-ish, apart from the fact that like he loves Beatrice very deeply. But so do a lot of other characters. This is why I'm asking
what the manifestation looks like, because I do. So one of the things I was taking notes during you talking about this, Kelly, and the thing I wrote about number 4 is this trauma response. That's what it resonates with me as. Like they had a childhood that or not, maybe not a childhood, but an earlier experience that unlike some of the other numbers where it might have been a more developmental choice, like 4s are you said reacting, or reactive, you use that term too. There's like there's like a thing that they're either, this is the question I have. Are they building a shell that protects against their inner emotional life, or are they expressing everything in that inner emotional life? And the answer to that question for me helps with the Benedick question.
I don't think they're hiding it.
Okay.
I don't think they're hiding it because they're constantly trying to express it to be able to find that person that will love them for what it is. They've kind of always just felt out of place. So like feeling like being switched at birth. Like I don't belong to these parents. I don't understand because we are so different. You know what I mean? Like who could possibly love me? Like I'm so out of place in this family, right? And always kind of seeking out by way of, I mean, that's like, it's such a quintessential, like I'm thinking of like movies and TV shows. What was the movie with Ben Still? What was the movie where they got married? Oh my God, you guys, you remember there was like the goth son, like nobody got him. So bad. We'll fact check. Somebody dropped that movie, what I'm talking about. He was like making choices to try to be more outlandish for someone to recognize him and to pay attention to him. And
You're talking about Meet the Fockers?
Yes! That's it. Was that Ben Stiller? What's his name? Yeah. Oh, I'm so bad at this. Yeah, right.
Robert De Niro.
Every time I like, yeah. And again, that's a bad stereotype because it could not be more like classic, right? But I don't think that that's like, I don't think there's any kind of way that they're hiding that from people because again, that's their way of sort of testing the waters.
Gotcha.
I feel
I agree Benedick is not a moody guy, and that's why I'm asking the question. Do all 4s need to look like that? Need to look like Johnny Depp with eyeliner? because if that's the threshold, then sure, there are a few handfuls of those cartoons in Shakespeare.
I think we should.
You know what I mean?
I think we should. Yeah, I think we should table it because I feel like we've been circling it a lot, and we should give our listeners something else to latch on to. So let's.
All right,
circle
8.
back to
Tell
it
us
this
what to
episode, or when
do.
we get to set, let's check back in with Benedick once we get there because I think he's 7 wing 6, so we can talk about that more down the road. All's well that ends well. I don't think there are any 4s, and I think that's play is as like kind of emotionally unsettling as it is. As You Like It, I think Jaques and Orlando. Comedy of Errors, I have Dromio of Syracuse because he's kind of the soft, sweet Dromio. He gets kicked around a lot, but he's the one who's, I just want to like serve my master and I want to sort of be happy and like feel like I, belong in this world. And I don't know, he just seems more like, he seems the most open of the 4 twins. From Cymbeline, I have Posthumous. Love's Labor's Lost, I have Dumaine and Catherine, continuing my LLL theory, which is that the 2 lovers are the same type and attracted to each other. Like Dumaine is the sort of he's the youngest of the boys, and he's always the one trying to he's always the one like trying to put his 2 cents in. He doesn't quite have as sharp of a wit, but he like cares very much, and he's very kind of group oriented. And he, his almost divine Kate is like he's the only one who enters like with an exclamation point. I think he's all feels. And then Catherine is sort of his parallel to that from the girl side. I also think Moat is a 4. I think Moat is the quintessential like, individualist in terms of like having a voice that's like she wants it to be differentiated from all the cacophonous Dickensian voices of those lower class characters. In Measure for Measure, I also had Lucio, and I also had the Duke. Now, the Duke is like a really mysterious character, and he can be played a lot of different ways, but I think he might be a 4. Merchant of Venice, I have Gratiano and I have Jessica as 2 very different kinds of 4s. Merry Wives of Windsor, Sir Hugh Evans, the Welsh guy. I think he's a 4. Mm-hmm. A Midsummer Night's Dream, I have Puck and Lysander and Bottom. I
almost put Bottom down, and then I settled on I settled on a 7 instead.
I think he's a 4.
Yeah, I mean, he was close.
But I think Puck behaves like a 7 and is a 4, and maybe Bottom is similar, like behaving like a 7 but having 4, like a 4 heart. I don't know. I think we can talk about that more. From Much Ado, I have Claudio as kind of the quote unquote like the nice guy 4. He's the really kind of toxic 4. From Pericles, what was the one that you had? How do you pronounce it?
Saruman.
Saruman. Yeah. I have him too. I just didn't know how to say his name. From Taming of the Shrew, I have Bianca. From The Tempest, I have Ferdinand and Trinculo. From Troilus and Cressida, I have Aeneas, and the fact that he's the only 4 in that play, I think is another part of the problem, because Aeneas has very few lines and he has very little impact on the story. So those feelings are getting repressed, right, by all of the men. They're all after the war. So I think Aeneas is like maybe the sole 4. Twelfth Night, I had Festi. I also have Sir Andrew Aguecheek as a 4. And possibly, I want to talk to you about this more. I just don't know. I have Viola ?
Yeah,
Viola as maybe.
I thought about it. There's the melancholy thing is there, right? But I wonder. For me, right. It's more about the subject of the play. Do you know what I mean? She's not in a great place.
I would agree with that. But I also had Orsino as a 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's possible. Although we mentioned Orsino a couple days ago for something else. As a 3, right?
Yeah, we mentioned. Yeah, but I think he's a 4. Now that we hear the 4 description, I'm moving him from my 3 column to my 4 column.
Yeah, that opening scene certainly feeds that idea, I think. Yeah, I don't know about Viola.
That scene with Viola. But I think with Orsino, right, 2-4, he's like, oh, women can't even, their hearts aren't big enough to feel as much as I feel.
I would like to learn
just such a drama.
more about the 6 before I make a judgment on Viola. I think I will learn more about the 6.
But I think Orsino, I think he's like got some classic 4 vibes. From Two Gentlemen of Verona, I have Julia.
Mm-hmm.
From The Winter's Tale, I have Florizel. Florizel strikes me as a very high functioning 4 because I actually think he's got that really true emotional authenticity, but he's actually quite he's sprightly, he's got energy, he's convinced that he's in love with Perdita, she's the one for him, he's going to marry her regardless of what his dad says, but he's more healthy about it than some of the more melancholy folks, he just seems a little bit seems like a very stable 4 to me. From the history, we have fewer in the Henriade. I had the Duke of O'Merle from Richard II. I have Vernon from H4-1, 1H4, and then I have on the individualist side more so than the heart part, but the no one can understand me. I had Michael Williams from Henry V. Wars of the Roses, I have the Dauphin, Eleanor Cobham, and George of Clarence, the Duke of Clarence. From King John, I don't know, I think King John might be a 4.
I played that part once, and he almost made the list.
I think he could be.
And I think I'm there's some, for me, he sort of blasts his way through that play. I do think he's moody. You know what I mean? But the reason I just remembered the production we did and was like, I like to think of myself as a good actor, but the part seemed to require me to shout the entire play. And that made me think, that's probably an 8, and I need to come back to it, and I just didn't even write it down. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Well, I had it with a question mark. I wasn't sure. I just thought there was a possibility. I didn't have anyone from Henry VIII. I don't think there's any 4s in there. From Antony and Cleopatra, I have.
Do you know, I actually had a character from Henry VIII.
Oh, who'd you have?
Catherine.
Oh, I don't have her as a 4. I have her as a high functioning 8.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's because I don't know. So it's been a while since I've dealt with that play, and so I may just be marrying it with some of the mythos of that character, sort of in the culture, this moody, romantic, not romantic in the romantic sense, romantic in the capital R sense. This streaky Spanish thing that carries with it and there's a religious component which is really, I don't know, it just lands as maybe, and she's always dressed in black. You know what I mean? So maybe.
Okay. So I have Enobarbus and Iris as 2 very different 4s from Antony and Cleopatra. From Coriolanus, I have Coriolanus. I think he might be. I think he might be a disaster 4. I have Hamlet from Hamlet. From Caesar, the only one that I could think of was Lucius, Brutus's servant Lucius.
I wondered about Portia. She's not a super developed character in that play, but there is a lot of moodiness in those exchanges with Brutus that and she's got an illness they talk about that's sort of drawing the energy down, and they're both very aware of it. And so anyway, I just wondered about her.
Okay.
If you enjoy the work of Sweet Tea Shakespeare, the number one thing you can do is log on to patreon.com/sweetteashakes and make a monthly pledge. Those pledges start at $5 and they go up to $500. Actually, you can set whatever amount you want. At certain levels, there are great perks, including in-person tickets, and those include all digital access throughout the year. So if we have a streaming event, a streaming concert, that normally you would pay for, patrons at the $20 level just get in. They just get in. It's delightful. But that is the greatest way that you can show support to Sweet Tea Shakespeare and help us continue to do the work of this podcast and so many of the other things that we do throughout the year.
From King Lear, I had the Fool.
Me too.
And I had the Fool as expressing that love through like twisty words, like not being not the channel of the love is not totally open, but there is love funneling from him to Lear. From Mackers, my favorite character in Mackers, I had Malcolm. I think that I don't disagree with you about Macduff. In fact, I think I don't have him on my list, but I think that's a really interesting pick. But I think Malcolm is absolutely
that Act 3 Scene 4 in that play is really interesting if you sort of take them both as fours. And what's interesting is you put them against like the absolute like in the head Mac B, you know what I mean, versus the sure. heart people. I'm right there with you.
Well, the thing with Macduff that I want to talk with you about is that I don't know how much the emotional authenticity that that washes over the audience in that scene. I don't know how much of that is just because of the extraordinary circumstance he's in, right? Like, if you're a dad who loves your wife and kids and you find out they've been killed, wouldn't you be a wellspring of emotion? Like, no matter what your type is? I don't know. So I think that's something worth talking about. However, I think that Malcolm is like peak 4. And I think when he says to Macduff, what is it? It's not revenge it like a man, or it's like something like a man, something about revenge. And then Macduff is like, yeah, but I have to feel it as a man. In that really great interchange that they have. I think that Malcolm is being totally disingenuous. I think that Malcolm is just I think he represses everything. Just like, I think that's just who he is. I think he is a very repressed young man. From Othello, I have no one. I think there might not be any in Othello. From Romeo and Juliet, I think Romeo is like, he just like wins to me. He like gets the trophy for fourness. And then Timon of Athens, possibly Apomantus as a 4, more of the individualistic side.
Yeah,
you know,
the sarcastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is how I see that I see Apomantus and Enobarbus as being a similar kind of 4, like having the same makeup kind of, they're kind of caustic, they're kind of snarky, but like there's a lot going on underneath, maybe. I don't know. But they both have their loyalties, right? Like they both have the people that they care about on some level. And then from Titus Andronicus, I have Bassianus. I don't know how you say his name.
I think it's Bassianus. I mean.
Bassianus?
Yeah.
I think he might be a 4. I think he might be a 4. That's all the ones I had. The histories were very lacking. I could not find many 4s in the history plays.
All right.
Which I found interesting.
I'm going to see if I have any that I skipped over. Although, as we were talking about Titus Andronicus, I kind of thought about Chiron and Demetrius as the sort of cartoonish emo punkster teenage.
So I just looked up some points of clarification. I was hearing, as you guys were talking, a little bit of tie between 7s and 8s and 4s, right? So it's either a 4 or a 7 or a 4 and an 8. So there is, remember we've talked a little bit about subtypes or instinctual variants. It gets a little deep, but it does add a ton of nuance here, right? So the self-preservation 4 is called the Sunny 4. Okay, so they are essentially suffering in silence, and they're more stimulation and excitement seeking.
That's what
I dug down, I found it.
I was asking about that, and I didn't even know I was asking about it.
So I'm going to read here. This is from Ginger Lepede-Bogda's book, Dr. Ginger Lepede-Bogda's book. This subtype is called reckless or dauntless. So they bear their suffering in silence to prove that they are good enough by virtue of enduring pain. They engage in nonstop activity or reckless behavior as a way to feel excited and energized, and they can often be confused with a 7 or a 3. So
that's Hamlet, right?
Yeah, self-preservation though, I don't know about that piece.
Well, that's really deep down. I mean, that's not something that, that's to remember the 3 types are self-pres, social, and one-to-one. So intimate.
Yeah. I don't think he's social or one-to-one. I think that he is like distracting himself.
I would be interested to hear about one-to-one. I know you don't want to talk about Hamlet because you hate it, but I would be interested in hearing about it because the sexuality piece of that is of that play is very strong, and the one-to-one relationships he has are, each of them is like incredibly distinct.
Yes.
So tell us about that.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna do them in order. So just bear with me. Okay. We just read self-pres. I'm gonna talk. The social subtype is the next one, and this one is quoted or called shame, according to this book. So they focus on their deficiencies in earning understanding and appreciation for their suffering, particularly from the groups to which they belong or lead. Yet they still feel marginal to these groups. Okay, because remember the social subtype is a bit more of a collective nature. The one-to-one subtype, or the intimate or sexual subtype, is called competition. So express needs and feelings outwardly and intensely while being highly competitive in order to gain attention, to be heard, and to be acknowledged. And this can be confused with the one-to-one subtype of 8. So that could be some of your tie back to 8 there. They're also super intense. So that could kind of be it. They're both the 1-to-1 4 and the 1-to-1 8 are both perceived as highly emotional, territorial, possessive, and competitive. And they also lump 6 in with that. So 4, 6, and 8 are all kind of sharing those sorts of traits.
Yeah, that sounds like Hamlet to me personally.
I don't know about the competition part.
The play ends with one.
Yeah, but like even at the end, even before he's gonna fight Laertes, he's like, well, this might as well happen.
He's in one with his uncle for the entire play. He's in one with himself for the entire play.
He's trying to figure out if he's in one with his uncle. It's a really, really
I mean,
dumb,
I think he's literally in competition with his uncle because he was supposed to be the king and uncle took over while he was in college.
I guess, but I don't see him as wanting. I don't know. I don't see the competitiveness so much as the resentfulness that you took what I wanted, as opposed to like, I'm trying to get it back.
As a person who understands both resentfulness and competition, I would say that they're actually highly overlapping circles in a Venn diagram.
I do think Romeo is like the peak social subtype of 4.
Yeah,
because
and I think you're right. I just I wonder why I didn't write him down. That's what I'm trying to mine. Like,
I wonder that too.
And because I actually wrote down a different name from that play, and then I wrote it down and I thought about it some more, and I'm like, no, I'm wrong. It's a 7. And that name was Mercutio. But the emotional part of Mercutio and the sort of individualistic and sort of artistic and like wonky Johnny Depp feel is very much at play. But I ultimately decided he's a 7. Do you know what I mean?
7s can
but
get
like
really
that
they can
came
get really
in the
deeply
way
connected down there, and when they do and kind of dip into the sorrow, because it looks so different than the way that they normally kind of are inclined to act, they can present or appear as 4s because it is such a striking sort of move for them. So.
And it may be that I just thought of Mercutio and got so excited because I love that character that I just didn't think about anything else. Do you know what I mean? Which is highly possible.
I went on the same journey though. I put Mercutio down, and then I thought about it, and I did more reading on the 4, and I was like, I think he's fundamentally a 7, but I think that we occasionally see, I think he behaves in some ways like an art school dropout, like peak 4. But I don't think that's what he is.
I think part of it for me may be that I think I don't have anything to say in terms of like, I don't think you're wrong. I also just happen to think Romeo is maybe this is where I'm getting caught up on the issue, but I think Romeo is like incredibly smart and like actually earnest. And
he is earnest. I would agree with the earnest part. I don't know if I agree with the smart part.
But do you see where like the parts of the 4 that are like sarcastic and cynical and like dark, do you know what I mean? Where that kind of got in the way for me. I don't know. It just got like,
yeah.
I don't necessarily have another number that's better. Do you know what I mean?
I think that the snarky shell theory, which I don't disagree with, because again, I have Enobarbus, I have Apomantus, so I see that theory and I affirm it. But I think that I think it is possible to have very differently presenting 4s that are authentically 4s, right?
I agree.
I don't
That's
think you
why
have
I'm
to
asking.
have that crust. I don't think
the clarification of the subtypes is great for me.
Yeah. I think Hamlet is definitely like, he's deep 4. He's deep tissue 4. But I think Romeo might be like, at least for the social subtype, he is like the poster child as far as I'm concerned. In fact, and that was when I found Romeo, like when I got him, I was like, I'm not going to come up with any character from any play that is more like quintessential of the character than him. But I do think that 4 has a lot of all the types we've talked about, 4 has possibly the most room for different kinds of characters, like for different types of, I think there's a lot of different ways to be really emotionally in tune and kind of like awash with feelings. Like I think there's different ways to hold that. I think it can affect your posture really differently. I think there are lots of different ways to be individualistic. I think there's a lot of different ways to want to like be identified for who you are. Like I think 4 is like broad in the types of people that it can encompass.
And I would just add to that I think because of the emotional exercise that they do, they probably have experience with all of the emotions other people experience, which makes them like good actors. Like you're going to find a concentration of actors in the 3-4 area, and especially in the 4s, if they're emotional actors. Not everybody is, but if they're working with that tool set, I would think you're going to see a lot more 4s there.
Yeah,
that's a great point. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The thing I also came back to a lot is that a lot of these characters are just like train wrecks. Like a lot of these characters like literally like self-immolate in the course of their plays. And I'm not saying that happens to all 4s. I love 4s in general, listeners. But I like in these plays, it's interesting to me that these 4s, a lot of them go down in flames.
It's tortured, man.
Yeah.
There's an allure there too, to be the victim, right? Because that in and of itself could be what someone's after. So
What else you got, Jeremy? Do you think you're a 4?
I think I might be a 4. I might be a 4, but I don't know. I definitely don't know which one. I mean, I don't know which one of the subtypes. I think if I had to, so we've gone through 4 numbers now. And I there's definitely something about each of them that I resonate with. Absolutely. Like I make lists like a 1, and I manipulate and help, you know what I mean? Like a 2, and I achieve like a 3, and I feel like a 4. But like, and that doesn't make me a 9, because I know I'm not a 9. There is
Yeah.
nothing about me that is peacemaking in any way. But I sort of, I sort of probably 4 is the closest right now, based on the ones I've heard.
Huh. Okay.
I got to find my list. I had started making a list for you, Jeremy, where I was going to like start triangulating and sort of building out your matrix because you know what I am. We're gonna narrow it down. We're gonna get there. I'll find it. Maybe we'll post it in the group.
One of our listener/viewers says it's Bossianus.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, lovely listener. I appreciate it.
You may
Bassianus.
notice that sometimes Claire and I will disagree on pronunciations, and that's okay.
I concede that I'm almost always wrong. I don't know. If I haven't seen it or heard it from like a company that I trust, I just do the best guess.
It's allowed. It's allowed.
I did. The one that I really like is I like Barone as Barone from Love's Labor's Lost, but I like that whenever the characters are rhyming the name with Moon, I think they should say Baroon, and I think it should really annoy him, and I think that should be like a conceit of the play. That he has a bunch of friends that like mispronounce his names to make it rhyme.
Do you know who would be uncomfortable with inconsistent pronunciations? A 1 and 5.
Mm-hmm.
I got it right.
This is true.
I got it right. So tomorrow we talk about you, Kelly, all day.
Kelly, I'm so nervous. I feel like we're gonna start talking about characters that are 5s and like they might be evil, and you're just gonna feel really bad. And I don't.
No, it's okay.
Let's make it a game.
Most of the like pop culture 5s that I have are serial killers. So I mean, it is what it is. Like,
let's make it a game to find the worst 5s imaginable. We'll talk offline. It'll be great.
Yeah.
The thing is, I'm glad you're the one doing research and not Jeremy, because if Jeremy was in charge of research, by the time we got to 8, he'd just have a bunch of totalitarian leaders.
Exactly.
Like a bunch of fascists.
It is true. I am looking for positive and high notes. So hopefully you've been listening and hearing positives about your type reflected. If not, well, I'm sorry. I'm not running the show.
Of the numbers, and maybe this is just me and I'm up in my feels, but like I would struggle to articulate the positive aspects of a 4.
Oh, well,
Do you
that's
know
not
what I mean?
fair. Okay, they're incredibly expressive. They're creative. Again, they have an emotional language that most people don't have. I don't have words for feelings. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I struggle hard to identify. Some other types probably do as well. To be able to know, like, what is that happening in my body? Why am I sad? I get angry at like vulnerable emotions, right? We'll talk more about this tomorrow, but I don't have that sort of like language or dexterity with it. And I really admire that. I'm super uncomfortable at things like funerals and stuff. And it really pains me to not know how to be okay with hard. And that is one thing that I have just always been super, super enamored by with 4s. They're authentic. They're honest, right? Who else do you get like pure honesty from, right? Like, it's really hard. Someone usually seems to have some sort of motives. And I don't think the 4s really are concerned with, you know, what does the lie look like? I'm going to tell you like it is, right? And I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to find like a purity to what it is that they're observing or seeing or feeling that I think a lot of types can't really get to. And they're also super empathetic. Like, they can genuinely feel. They're your like quintessential empaths. You know, whatever is going on, they are absorbing it and they are like living it out, whether or not it happened to them or not. So I think those are
Here's
all
what I want to
fantastic.
know. This is the next step of this journey, is I want to know if they're like, this doesn't exist. So I'm making up a term right now. But like, if there's like, can you be so 4 that you are actually, you feel things and then you feel things about feeling things?
I think so. Yeah.
It's like metaphorness.
Yeah, no, it's meta. Yeah, exactly. I think so. I mean, I don't know from experience. I'd love to hear a four's perspective on that. But yeah, again, I don't think that they identify feelings the way we have to, like looking at a glossary of, or like, the face charts that they have for little kids at the doctor's office, like the pain chart. Like, I feel like I need that. Like, I need that to describe emotions. And a 4 is like, they are feelings. They don't have them. They are them. And there's no other way to be, really. So.
I mean, I think Romeo's first scene with Benvolio is perfect for that, because he talks about being tired and weary of loving so much and it being unrequited.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
I think that, yeah, I think he ascends beyond just the feels, and he talks about how emotionally exhausting it is to feel so much and have it be rejected.
I love that.
Yeah. Okay.
Tomorrow will be fun. Tomorrow we're back with 5s.
Yay! Headspace.
We are voyaging across the existential void between 4s and 5s. And
I believe I was raised by a 5, so I might have some things to say.
I'm excited.
Awesome.
I was raised by a 5 as well. So
I have some 5-ness. I have
that.
some 5-ness that I identify with, but I'm pretty sure I'm not one. This is one of the ones I don't think I am.
Oh, cool. All right.
Well, it'll be fun tomorrow. Thank you both.
You've been listening to the Sweet Tea Shakespeare Hours. Our podcast was produced by Claire Martin and Jeremy Feebig. Ashanti Bennett is our general manager. Our theme song was written by Owen Eddy. This podcast was made possible by our friends at the Arts Council of Fayetteville and Cumberland County and our fabulous monthly sustainers at patreon.com/sweetteashakes. You can join us there for an exclusive weekly podcast and loads of other fun perks. If you've enjoyed your time with us today, subscribe to this podcast or leave us a review on whatever platform you get your podcasts from. If you want to hang out with us in a future episode, drop us a line at hours@sweetteashakespeare.com. That's HOURS@sweetteashakespeare.com. Thanks again for listening to the Sweet Tea Shakespeare Hours. Until next time, you that way, we this way.